Now, you may not know it, mainly because I don't mention it, unfortunately, is you could call Trend Chat, and the number is 317-731-2314. And when you call, you will get a generic, voicemail message, which is, this is Trend Chat, leave your name and number and blah, blah, blah. But we're looking to do something outside the box, something a little different. And we want to change the voicemail message. And we came across some audio, and I think this is what you'll be hearing from now on.
Apparently, you've gone to voicemail. Sometimes it makes me sad, though, not being able to take your call. I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright. But for now, wait for the beep, leave a message, and get busy living or get busy dying. Or you could text me, I'll probably get back to you quicker.
From the highways of America, here's the podcast where we talk politics, a little entertainment, some culture, and this and that, from the road to your ears. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
And welcome to another episode of Trend Chat. I am your host, Brian Bledsoe, and if you want to connect with us on Facebook or Snapchat, it's at TrendChat247, and on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Brian L. Bledsoe. So that was a voice parody by Frank Caliendo of Morgan Freeman, and we just came across that. We thought that would be think about changing the voicemail, and think that that would be a good one to use. So, but probably not. Like I said, as we get close to, I guess we're in the last couple of episodes, so there's no point of really changing the end now. But matter of fact, this is episode 184, I think. Not seeing it. 84, I don't know. But we're getting close to around, I guess, 15 more episodes. And first off, we are broadcasting right now from Kansas City. We're close to Kansas City. We're about 30 miles outside of downtown. And also, the day that we're are recording, it's Constitution Day. So happy Constitution Day to everyone, which is, if you don't know, commemorates the signing of the Constitution. And I don't know, I think we probably mentioned it previous years about this day, but with everything that's going on right now with the riots and protests and how things are going on with across the country, where people are just like I said, you're having these protests. Like I said, I will say there are protests, even though for the most part I disagree with what they're protesting about, but they're right, and that's perfectly fine. Unfortunately, they seem to come with riots that tend to be a little more frequent than the actual protests. But in saying all that, because talking about the Constitution, and a lot of these groups, whether it's Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and all that, they basically don't even they want to do away with the Constitution. They don't want anything to do with it. They want a Marxist revolution that basically just totally discards the Constitution. And that's where we're at right now. A lot of people maybe not want to see it for what it is. I think some people maybe are following these organizations out of naivete and not seeing what they really want to do and what their end goal is. I mean, when it comes to just the Constitution and what it's supposed to do, and as far as stating our God-given rights and just making it clear for what the government can't do to the citizens, I think that's one thing we don't really consider when we talk about the Constitution. The Constitution is to restrict government. It's to tell government what they can't do. I think Obama mentioned something about that, where he had a problem with that, which that should have been a red flag to people in hearing that. But a lot of people don't really understand about the Constitution and about our rights, really. Because I know, I forgot when that was, but Obama was saying, well, he was criticizing the fact that the Constitution gives a bunch of rights for what the government can't do. I can't remember. I mean, I just thought about this off the top of my head, so I wish I would have had the audio of it, just because Obama was saying, like, the Constitution, I'm just paraphrasing obviously, but what the Constitution can't do, but it doesn't articulate what the government can do, like on your behalf or something like that. So, but that was on purpose. And but yeah, I wish I would have had that audio. But when I think about what's going on right now, it kind of reminds me of a Bible verse from Matthew 7th chapter 6th verse. And just now, it just reminds me of this, because the verse is not about the Constitution, obviously, but the verse is just talking about like pearls before swine, and where in the context of the verse, it's just saying, as far as, for people at some point, some people are just not going to get it. And in the context of the verse, it just kind of like, in evangelism, where you're giving the good news of the gospel, and at some point, people, you can keep telling them about it as much as you want. You can tell them the good news, but some people are just not going to accept it, or just not going to believe it. And so it's basically kind of like, by constantly putting the good news out before some people, it's like putting pearls before swine, because they're just not going to get it. And that's kind of what's in the sense, kind of like what's going on now as far as the Constitution, in the sense, people just really don't value their freedom. And some people, especially the people in these organizations like Antifa and Black Lives Matter and whatnot, they know they don't want it. They want, a socialist government or communist government. That's what they want. And they don't want it, like I said, don't want anything to do with the freedom, and mainly because those people know they're going to be protected at the top, because once they implement their system, they'll be protected. At least they think they will be. So a lot of those people won't be protected, and the harsh reality will hit them afterwards, and then it'll be too late. But like I said, some people, even so, just talking about politically in the Constitution, or even just talking about freedom and liberty and all of that. One thing, at least for me, and just thinking about that verse and putting it in a bit of the context in talking about politics, it's just the same as talking about the gospel in a sense. I mean, as far as politics go, on a lesser scale, but in politics, it's still kind of the principle still kind of holds, because some people are just not going to get it. They're just not going to care enough, and they're too apathetic, too stubborn, or pig-headed about doing anything about it. And they won't care until it's too late, and then, they will have to live with knowing that they played a part in the system that they didn't want, but they were, like I said, too apathetic and didn't care enough to do anything about it. And then once once it's here and once it happens, and then they're going to be one of the first ones to criticize and disagree about it, but it's too late now. Like you had plenty of time to do something about it by changing your vote, for one, or actually speaking up, but you didn't. So, and anyway, but I know one thing when it comes to, I mean, you hear this, especially around now being that this election year and everything, and you see all the ads from, Republican, Democrats, other parties and all that. And when you try to have political discussions or whatever, and so a lot of times what comes up when it comes around these times every couple of years, it's just like, kind of let's agree to disagree, or that's just, that's your opinion, and that's how I'm voting this way or whatnot. And then I'm, this is, I'm not really going to, I guess, be convinced or of your argument or whatever like that. And one thing, I know it's a nice thing to say about, let's agree to disagree or whatever like that. Or just like, just basically let's put this down as just opinion when it comes to voting, whether it's whatever party. And let's just, let's just not even talk about it or whatever like that. But what I will say is, and it's something I don't hear often, because whether we want to admit it or not, you can try to dismiss it as, okay, this is just two sides of, of an argument, and, whatever side you stand on, it's okay. Actually, that's not the case, because at the end of the day, there is a right or wrong way of doing this, of doing whatever we're doing as far as politics, is how we vote and whatever we're doing. Because for one, all of this affects our fellow man. Every vote that we make is going to affect our community, our country, and who we follow, and who we who we vote for, what policies we vote for or not vote for, and all of that. And like I said, at the end, there is a right and wrong way of what's going on. Now, in saying that, both of us could be wrong. That is an option as well. It's not like one of us is 100% right and one of us is 100% wrong. Like, we both could be wrong. That's could be true as well. But what I'm saying is that, because, for one, by me saying this, that means I am talking about objective truth, which is something that we don't hear about. That's something that, especially in the media and a lot of people, Democrats and the progressives and whatnot, they definitely are against objective truth, because they always want to talk about your truth, or this is my truth. We're basically making truth subjective. But as what I'm talking about objective truth. I will go even so far as to say absolute truth, Like, there is actual truth out there. And as a Christian, I will say the truth is whatever God says is true. Whatever God says is right. And so that's what I mean in saying, in the end, there is a right or wrong way to what we're doing. And I think it's the best of all of us to actually investigate, especially we as Christians, to understand if what we're doing is, in line with our principles as a Christian. Just, speaking as a Christian, and what we're voting for and the policies we are advocating for, that reflects whether we're doing it the right way or the wrong way. And so that's one, I don't hear that too often, mainly because, like I said, in our society, we really don't like the concept of absolute truth or objective truth, where there is something there is right and wrong, because I feel like we just want to live in a fog of gray, really. And especially on the left, especially amongst progressives, like, unless it's what they're talking about, their policies are absolute. But if it's something that's outside of their policies, then all of a sudden they don't really care about truth. But like their ideas, their policies, everything they say is 100% objective truth, until it's something that they don't agree with. Then all of a sudden they want to talk about, truth is relative. It's, that's your truth. They're basically just trying to be like pacifist, in disagreeing with you, really. But I know one thing. I mean, whether it's, and speaking about Democrats in particular, before we go to the next segment, I mean, whether it's like, supporting Marxist organizations like Black Lives Matter, or defending exploiting children in this Netflix movie called Cuties, which, whether either they're defending it or they're just being weirdly quiet about it all, or like, Cardi B's WAP song, like they're defending that, on top of the regular stuff as far as want high taxes and killing babies, which as it's more commonly known as abortion or open borders and whatever. I mean, it just seems right now like Democrats are just putting their morality, their immorality. Well, I guess I would say, as far as, because it is their morality. Now, I will call it immoral, but that's what they believe is right or wrong. That's, they believe all of that is right. Now, what is their authority in believing that? I mean, definitely, I know a lot of, I guess you will call them progressive Christians, want to try to justify it in the Bible by saying all of this is actually biblical, which when you ask them, they treat the Bible like, I guess, going and talking about the Constitution again, because they treat the Bible like you hear people talk about the Constitution, where the Constitution is a living document. So by saying that, I mean, they can change it according to how they feel or how society is at the time. They don't take it for what it says. And they do the same thing with the Bible. At least a lot of these progressive Christians, they read the Bible, say, well, pretty much in a sense, an insult to God by saying that, well, there's no way God would have known this would be going on in our society, so we have to change what the Bible says, because, that meant that, what was going on back then, but they had no idea this was going to be going on. in a sense, by saying that, you saying God didn't have a clue that this was going to go on, which is problematic to say the least. But yeah, all of this, like I said, supporting Black Lives Matter, having these just disgusting movies like Cuties on Netflix, where you have all 11-year-old girls twerking and basically doing what Cardi B was doing in her song WAP, and they're defending all of this, like I said, along with the high taxes and advocating for abortion and just open borders and all that. Like, they're just putting their immorality out for everyone to see nowadays. And it just I don't know at this point. I don't understand actually where you will see all this in the news. You'll see, or maybe see it on social media or whatnot. And I guess maybe because of someone that is looking at politics and him, I guess, looking at it in the sense of where, I don't know. I guess a lot of people are just seeing it where it can't be that bad. We can't have people who are really wanting communism in this country. That's not true. That's just you on the right that are just really overstating it. But yet they're saying it explicitly that's what they want. But they still choose to not understand, not to believe it, really, I guess. But I don't know. I guess they're not going to figure it out until it's right there in front of their face.
This is Trend Chat.
Hey guys, this is Morgan Zegers, the founder and CEO of Young Americans Against Socialism. We are a nonprofit organization working to preserve a free, fair, and prosperous America for generations to come, all by equipping our generation with the truth about socialism. If you're interested in watching our educational videos, donating to the cause, joining the Ask Coalition, or becoming a contributor, you can do all of these things at fightsocialism.org. We hope you'll join us in this crucial fight for the future of our great country. Thanks!
This is Dana Lash, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
We here at Trend Chat, we are proud to be part of the 1776 militia. Check out 1776united.com. They have a wide array of clothing, hats, shirts, art, and more that is fiercely patriotic and stylish to match. Go to 1776united.com, and if you put in the code TRENDCHAT, you get 20% off your first purchase. Again, 1776united.com, put in the code TRENDCHAT for 20% off. All right, so I know, and talking about these riots and protests that are going on, and now one thing that we had in Los Angeles, where I saw the video of two cops who were just sitting, sitting in a I guess near a building somewhere. I don't know, just I don't know, maybe they were on a break, I don't know. But you see a video of someone just come up and shoot them in their car. Just point blank, just shot them in the car. And you had that going on top of, then you had some of these Black Lives Matter activists or whatever at the hospital where they were being treated, and you had some of them just out there laughing on top of that, and also just flat out saying, we hope they die. And and I know by mentioning that, and if someone see the video like, oh well, that was just a few of them, that doesn't represent all of Black Lives Matter, that's we don't agree with what they said. And okay, if that's the case, so you're saying that a few people don't represent the whole organization. So, but you take that same logic and the few police officers that have some, negative, some maybe fatal, tragic interactions with the public, you take those few and want to create a whole organization about it. So, yeah, so you can just spare me with that logic, because that's how you're going to treat all the, every police officer. Like I said, you call all cops are bastards and all of that. If that's how you feel just off of these few incidents, then okay, when you have the few people, I actually would disagree. I think it's more than a few. But that's the argument they want to make, saying those few people are saying things we don't agree with, don't generalize the whole organization. No, well, that's what you do. So maybe you should consider that before you go on your next march about some whatever tragic incident happens. Maybe you should actually, sit back and watch the video and see what's going on before you go out protesting. A lot of these protests happen off of stuff that like Lancaster. So I was actually in Lancaster probably the day before what happened up there, where you had a guy with a knife was shot by the police, and you see it in the body cam footage that he had a knife and he was shot. And then there were protests because of that. But for one, if they saw it, they didn't care, and because it's all about what the narrative, as far as, like I said, they have taken the narrative that all cops are just out there wanting to kill people of color. That's all that's all they want. And they have taken that to basically every street across this country. And like I said, you had that happen in Lancaster, Pennsylvania just recently. So, but we have all of this going on, and meanwhile, and it just on top of everything that's going on with COVID as well. But before I get into that, let's get to the shout outs for the locations, mainly because I saw a couple of more countries in particular that I haven't seen before, and I want to make sure I don't forget about it. So let's get the music going. Come on. All right, there we go. All right, bring that down. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, as always, I guess we'll start with the city. So Clinton, North Carolina, and then I guess Patina, India. So India's still on the list. So I'll get to that in a minute. But Phoenix, Arizona, Greer, South Carolina, Kansas City, Missouri. Like I said, we're broadcasting near Kansas City right now. Longmont, Colorado, Austin, Texas, Lincoln, Nebraska, Round Rock, Texas, and Dallas, Texas. Now look, Dallas, North Texas area, I mean, it should be on the list somewhere. But now going to the countries. So we got, I don't know, matter of fact, I think we had Dominican Republic on here before. But yeah, so Dominican Republic, France, Mexico, Brazil, Nicaragua, El Salvador. Now those two I don't think I've seen before. So hello, whoever in El Salvador and Nicaragua. So then United Kingdom, Australia, and India is still strong in the second place right now. And of course, at the top, it's still United States. But the thing about So you have United States, obviously at the top as far as where people are listening, but it's at like 75% now. Like for the longest time, it's been like 95, 90%. And now it's at 75% because you have India at 20% now, which is crazy. Now, so by saying 20% is in India, that means all the rest of them is like 1 or 2%. But yeah, anyway, like I said, the show is only going to be on a couple more episodes anyway, but I don't know, maybe people are listening like, why you keep doing this every episode? Because, like I said before, and I will keep saying it, just the fact of seeing different, not even just countries, cities around, the country, seeing different cities is still something that amazes me. But to go even further than that, to see that people outside of this country are listening, and again, shout out to all the cities and countries. But I would say for the countries in particular, if you're in whatever country you are, I'm still asking for an email. So trendchat247@gmail.com. Just send an email from where you are, around the world. And one, like I said, I appreciate you listening, and I just want to know, like, what you think and what brought you to listening to this podcast. I'm just really interested, especially, I have an idea as far as India goes, because like we started distribution in India. I didn't, but the distribution that this podcast they started with a company that's primarily in India, and that started a couple of weeks ago. So I recognize why India is on the list all of a sudden. But still, I still would love to know what you thinking. What brought you to Trend Chat? I would love for you to stay, be a subscriber, and like it and share it and all of that. So yeah, but I really wanted to get that out because, especially in El Salvador, I don't think I've ever seen El Salvador on there. But I guess to get back on some, I guess more of a serious note in a sense, because 9/11 just passed a couple of days ago. And there's two things in particular. One is that the NBA, if you don't know, NBA is still playing. Just looking at the ratings, it seems like a lot of people don't know. Now, I haven't watched much. I don't care, especially with all the virtue signaling, and like I said, all the with basically everyone in the league is pretty much supporting Black Lives Matter, the organization. Now, I'm in particular, and they're one of the first ones out there whenever some of these police shootings or whatever like that, whenever that happens, they're one of the first ones jumping out and just giving all sorts of misinformation and promoting these little short clips. And they're the ones pretty much out there agitating and just making it worse, really. But anyway, on 9/11, and they had a game, and they were out there still kneeling for the national anthem. And look, if that's what they want to do, that's well within their right. But still, I am well in my right to disagree and to criticize that, and to say that that's something I'm definitely am in disagreement with, and what they're doing, and the protests that, like I said, whether it is for kneeling for the national anthem, it just, of all days, to continue doing it on 9/11, but it just, by seeing stuff like that. And also with everything that's going on right now, it just made me wonder, like, would we have like a 9/12 moment in this environment? Like, if we, which is unfortunate to even say, because the whole reason to mention like a 9/12 moment is because after 9/11, after September 11, 2001, the whole country came together, at least for a time, for a period there, came together. It was all, we are, USA, USA. And it's unfortunate that it takes an event like that for that to happen. But like I said, if we had another horrific event like that nowadays, with everything that's going on, would we even come together? Or would we have some of these organizations that would actually be on the side of the terrorists, or whatever country that would do something to that level, if that happened right now? I'm feeling, I'm feeling like this. Yeah, this probably would, we probably would have organizations, and we'll have a lot more people that will say, well, America deserved it. And whatever that would happen, it's our fault, as opposed to what happened in 2001. And because, and seeing how much we are divided right now, I would say we're more divided now than we were in 2001. But yeah, so I don't think we will have that unifying spirit if we had something like that happen now, because there'll be a lot more people out there on social media and whatnot that would blame us, that would say that, okay, well, this happened because of Trump or whatever like that. They'll yeah. So, matter of fact, and speaking of President Trump, and just mentioning that, and he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Now, given that the committee is full of liberals, the chances of him winning are slim to none. But I would say, and this might sound controversial, but it really isn't if you think about it. But with the peace deals that President Trump has brokered, and right now we're looking at 3 different peace deals recently, and with that, and also just with the time in office, Trump is more deserving of the Peace Prize than Obama was, especially because remember, Obama got it in 2009, not even a full year in office, and he didn't broker any peace deals. Literally, he was given the Nobel Peace Prize simply because he was elected president. Now, I know they talk about, international diplomacy as a reason why, and just because he did a speech in Cairo, or just other little stuff, like the reasons why Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009. If you compare that to what President Trump has done, then yeah, President Trump should be winning the Nobel Peace Prize in a landslide. Like, it should be no dispute, really, if you compare the two. But like I said, given that it's full of liberals, I'm doubt he'll even come close to winning. But I know, well, this was like a couple of weeks ago. I spoke at a there was a Trump rally in West Texas, and I was invited to speak, which, one, thanks to T. Allen and everyone at Machine Shed Bar and Grill in Kilgore, Texas, for having me. And I spoke for like 10 minutes, 9 to 10 minutes. And I tell you, that was the last time I guess spoke other than, on here, I guess a public speech was like a couple of years ago when I spoke at the Republican Women of Arlington event. That was like 2 years ago. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate being invited and talking about, there was a matter of fact, in that speech, there was a couple of things that I didn't get to, so I had everything I was going to talk about on my phone, and I was going to, kind of refer to it. But then once I got up and got the mic and started talking, one, I kind of remembered everything, what I had, not all of it though, but I got to talking and I just forgot the phone was in my hand until like it was over. And I just got to talking, which, look, if you listen to this podcast, and that's also the reason why I put it on my phone, because I kind of wanted to, I didn't know how much time I really had. I didn't want to go too long. And so I tried to put, write it all down or put it on my phone so I can kind of, restrain myself in a way. But, even in saying that, there were some things I forgot that I put down, and I didn't even look at it while I was standing up there. But, I know like one thing I was mentioning, because, the first thing I said is that, we're in month 6 of the longest 2 weeks in human history. And, it just seemed like there's no end in sight, or at least until after the election, because then all of a sudden the severity of the virus would kind of just go away. And I know by saying that, then I didn't know if media was watching or anything like that. So so when I said that, in case any media is watching or wanting to use that and thinking the same, like I don't think the virus is real, or I'm not taking it seriously, is that the virus is very much real, which I've said on this podcast a number of times. The virus is real. Also, it is as real as power-hungry politicians across the country that just want to seize more control by infringing on our rights. So it's just as real as those politicians that are using this virus. And now, this one thing I didn't mention and I forgot about, because in talking about the politicians and talking about these, what we're talking about, the Newsoms and the de Blasios and, everyone in California and using the virus to take control of our lives, which is something that the Democrats, this is their dream scenario. This is what they want. Power like this over the people. This is what, do you think they really just going to relinquish these powers? Even after, let's say, everything has calmed down and we're somewhat back to normal, you think they're just going to relinquish these powers, especially Democrats? Also, it seems like some Republicans as well are going along with this too. No, they're just going to keep it in their back pocket, or maybe it's, say that they done away with the powers when they really haven't. And now that they know how easy it is for them to use this power, they're going to keep it, and then whatever they deem is an emergency, they'll use it again. So, look, after, let's say, like I mentioned that in the beginning of that speech, I said we're in month 6 of the longest 2 weeks in human history. So, okay, those initial 2 weeks where everything was shut down, And I remember, being on the road where there was a time during that 2 weeks where there was nothing but trucks on the road. And I remember driving through Chicago around rush hour and there was no traffic. But anyway, regardless of how you feel about those initial 2 weeks, whether we should have done that at all, what should have happened after those 2 weeks, we should have been, given a recommendation. Like, the government give us the information about the virus, give us some recommendations, not a mandate though. Like, recommend that we do this and that, because for whether it's the mask or whatever, like social distancing, whatever, give the recommendations. Let us, as the people, let us assess the risk, and then we, the people, take some personal responsibility, and then we move on. That is what should have happened. Because whether it's signing waivers or whatever, or whatever, like I said, we should have been able and just taken some personal responsibility in whatever that was going on. Now, that's not what happened. That's not what they were going to do anyway. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are listening to this podcast probably wouldn't want that. But that's what we should have done, if you value your freedom, your actual freedom. But I know one thing I mentioned in that speech is just that the Democrats plan to shut down and burn down. Because I was saying, like, it's critical now with everything that's going on to reelect President Trump now, because their plan as far as the shutting down part, they have done that. And then also with their defense of all these riots and protests, because they're not distinguishing one from another. I noticed in the past couple of weeks that you've seen more Democrats that are out there criticizing the riots all of a sudden. It's funny because that happened around the same time when CNN, Don Lemon, mentioned that, okay, we got to stop these riots because it's hurting the Democrats' poll numbers. That was around the same time. Then all of a sudden, you starting seeing more Democrats. Now they're criticizing the riots now all of a sudden. That was just funny. It seems like they were more worried about the political ramifications as opposed to what was actually going on when it comes to destroying people's livelihood, and their property. Like, man, they were just totally overlooking it for all this time. But then all of a sudden, when it seemed like it was hurting their numbers, I'm like, oh, okay, let's actually set something and do something about it. They're really just saying that because they're not really doing much still. A lot of them are still talking about defunding the police and all of that. So, but, I know another thing I mentioned, just as far as just doing something, because now there's something in the clip that I posted on social media, because I did post a clip of my speech on Facebook, and I think it was just on Facebook. And just like, we can all do something. Like, everybody can't do everything, but everyone could do something, So, because I know it's cliche. I know people hear it a million times. I'm pretty sure people have heard a million times now that this is the most important election of our lifetimes, which is true. Because, for one, defending liberty doesn't take a holiday. Because mainly, because the people who want to take away our freedom and liberty, they don't take a holiday either. So vigilance is eternal vigilance is the price of freedom, which is kind of a paraphrased quote, which is one of my favorite quotes. But yeah, eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. Like, you have to continue fighting for freedom. It doesn't stop after an election. It doesn't stop whether you defeat the people who want to take away your freedom. Like, they're not going to stop. Even if you beat them, they're just going to keep going, because they're not going to stop, and neither should we. So yeah, so every election that comes up is the most important, because it doesn't take long if you become complacent, because that's basically how we got here, by being complacent, by being one of those people in society where they will say, oh, well, it'll never happen here because we're Americans and all that, and have gotten complacent in that, thinking that it can never happen. And now we've gotten to the point that where we have, open socialists like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You have all these people who are already in Congress and looking to get more people in Congress, and not only in DC, but you have in city councils and in state legislatures and all of that, more and more people who have got into these positions of power that want to basically use all sorts of means and tactics to strip away little bits and pieces of our freedom, more and more and more, day by day. So, and also you have, the revisionist history of the 1619 Project, where you have, that's going on in our schools now, and all of this. And that's basically because we've been complacent. And you can see the indoctrination of stuff like the 1619 Project, this revisionist history, basically telling children that America is the villain, and America is a racist country and all of that. You can see all this is manifesting in these riots, because that's what you hear from the people in the riots. The same thing they've been taught in school. So yeah. So that basically was all the stuff what I was mentioning in that speech. Just yeah, it was fun to be able to do this speech, and it was who knows when the next time, if there is going to be a next time, who knows. But I don't know. I appreciate T. Allen for inviting me, and also, if you didn't see the rally, chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, Alan West, he was the main speaker, along with other guests as well. And hopefully I may get some of them on the podcast in the coming weeks. So yeah. So I don't know if I'm ever going to do that again. Who knows? Just if someone invites me or whatever, I guess depends on where it is, and if I can make it there, I'll be there.
This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
This is Lacey Williams, the founder and president of Expressions Magazine, letting you know that you can order our quarterly magazine and support female conservatives by visiting express-conservatism.com, or you can follow us on social media. On Instagram with the username of expressions_conservemag, or on Twitter with the handle of @express_conserve. Get your copy today.
What's going on, folks? This is Colin Noir, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
So you want to keep America great, but you don't know where to go to get some Trump-centric gear?
check out TrumpMug.com. And if you put in the code TrendChat, you get 10% off. So at TrumpMug.com, they have flags, coins, mugs, of course. So go to TrumpMug.com, put in the code TrendChat, get 10% off. Again, TrumpMug.com with the code TrendChat for 10% off.
All right, so I know one thing before we go, actually. One thing from this whole shutdown that has been going on, I feel like there is a silver lining when it comes to everything that's been going on. I mean, we have, like, so, I mentioned about the NBA playoffs, like, they're going on still. And NFL just started. College football is about to start. Well, already has started, actually. And one thing from all of this, with the basically, not being able to go to concerts and games or whatever, just entertainment in general, maybe people's obsession with entertainment and these entertainers would diminish. And along with that, maybe their influence, these entertainers' influence on their followers would diminish as well. Basically just to realize they don't really need them. By being, I guess, forced to not go and not attend these, these events or whatever like that, maybe people will realize, it's not all that, it's not as important as they thought it was. And we're like, oh, I just gotta go to the game, gotta go to the concert, gotta do this. And where you're, maybe some people would realize, like, I don't really have to go. I mean, when fans are able to go back, I mean, yeah, sure, a lot of people are going to go back, but their importance in their lives, maybe there has some better perspective, put it that way, I guess. And at the same time, also the opinions of these entertainers is like, the LeBron James and all of them, and notice that, they're, and really actually scrutinize their opinions as opposed to just kind of blindly following them because you like how they sing or how they play ball or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of like getting off a drug though, really. So, like I said, if any silver lining to this is maybe this is like being weaned off a narcotic of some sort. And maybe at the end of it, they'll notice that, have some better perspective when it comes to entertainment. Now, speaking of that, I said that. Now, I'm going to mention that myself, I went to the movies because, being in Texas, the movie theaters are open. Even though it's at right now in some theaters like 40% capacity, but, they have, all the social distancing and all of them require masks and all that. And so they're doing all the cleaning and everything, to have the public to feel more comfortable in coming back to the theater. But I went to see Tenet last week, and it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. That being said, you have to watch this movie twice. So if you watch it the first time and you like it, but you probably, didn't understand, I can almost guarantee you're not going to understand everything on the first viewing of it. But, you have to, for one, you have to like it watching it the first time and be interested enough to want to see it again. But to fully understand it, it has to be watched twice because there is so much that is thrown at you in that movie. And yeah, but I enjoyed it, but I've noticed that myself, I am a fan of Christopher Nolan's movies. Because I don't know if I mentioned on this podcast, but like my favorite movie of all time is The Prestige. And that's a Christopher Nolan movie with Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. But that's my favorite movie. And Inception is right up there somewhere in the top 10. And the Batman trilogy, I like those. I didn't even notice that I was a Christopher Nolan fan until I started looking at the movies that I really like and saw who was directing them. And then I noticed, I noticed a lot of some of my favorite movies that Christopher Nolan is a director. So now one thing I wanted to mention as we go is that I appreciate everyone listening. Also, I just want to say, also do a podcast for Blexit, Texas, which is every Sunday, me and Harper Price. So check that out. And that's every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So thank you so much for listening. And don't know when the next time will be, but it should be sometime next week. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it'll be next week. So I think we'll be talking about some things with law enforcement actually. So thanks again. And until next time, we'll chat with you later.